welcome to the Toekenz Podcast. I'm Iris. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Toekenz, the parent company Toekenz Collectibles, LLC. I'm here with my co-host.
Hi, I'm Jeff Allen. So nice to be here again. Hello to everybody.
So happy to have you, Jeff. And we have a new guest. I am so excited to introduce Susan Peia, advisor to Toekenz, but also a friend and a mentor to a number of young professionals in the licensing industry. Hello, Susan.
Hi, Iris. Hi, Jeff. It's great to be here. Great to be part of Toekenz. So why don't I introduce myself and
Please
a little
do.
bit about the world of licensing that I live in. I have been in licensing for 45 years. The entire time has been in children's licensed products, which includes apparel, which is playwear, t-shirts, sleepwear, outerwear, swimwear, anything really that a child would wear. And when we speak about children, we're talking about kids that are from newborn, their firstborn, up until approximately 12, 13 years old. That's the age of the child that generally fits in the children's size range.
So that sounds like the clothing business. What does that have to do with licensing?
Well, it actually has a lot to do with licensing. About 30 years ago, licensing became a very important part of children's clothing. We, as the company I work for, we launched Winnie the Pooh back into the marketplace at that time. That really catapulted license to be so important in the children's apparel area that over the past 30 years, it is approximately 75% of the business in the United States for children's wear. Young kids love wearing the iconic brands and iconic characters that they watch and in ways interact with every single day. The business is very different when you're talking about the babies versus the older kids. And we've always looked at that completely different. But licensing is very, very important, being such a large percentage of the business now.
I'm assuming, Jeff, you can probably relate. I mean, what kind of licensed or branded shirts do your boys wear?
I see now. Yeah, as opposed to just like buying the plain old white tee, they would much prefer to have, something featuring one of their favorite characters. I could go on, and they've gone through different phases, right? They'll graduate from a baby shark to something like Roblox, their favorite Roblox character or something like that, and then keep going up the chain until they start choosing for themselves. I suppose at first it's appealing for mom and I to put them in whatever we want, like the Kansas City Chiefs onesie or something I might get on one of my younger kids, but it doesn't last long, right, until they start having opinions of their own.
And they
Yes,
start having opinions early.
they
Yeah.
do. And that's what I was kind of leaning into with, how we handle it differently for the different age child. When a child, from the time they're newborn until the child is, say, 2 years old, it's really the parent that's making the purchase, the parent, the grandparent, they're making the purchase. The child is really not influencing that purchase whatsoever. So we then market to the parents. We're thinking about the parents and what the parents are interested in. So it may not, for a newborn, it may not be the latest TV show. It could be something that they related to when they were a child. So you see all these retro properties coming back now. You have Care Bears, Strawberry Shortcake, just, thinking about, Power Rangers is back. And not only is it back in the minds of the parents, But it's really come full circle because there's new content coming out on all of those properties that we would consider retro. Um,
So, how long would you say it took for the licensing industry to get to that 80% licensed apparel?
I would say that it probably took about 10 to 12 years
Okay.
to capture that percentage of the market. It's been pretty stable for, a good, 18 years now, with license playing that big of a role in the product that you will see out there. We used to be just brick and mortar stores. Now you're talking about all different levels and platforms where you have the ability to purchase product.
And then when would you say the nostalgic brand started to kick in? Is that more recent?
That really has been a trend for at least 5 years now. And it started with the rock bands. The rock bands became very popular again, and they really became millennial purchases for their child. So we're talking about Rolling Stones and Queen, Guns N' Roses, Nirvana. We sell it like crazy because the parent is buying that. All the little
Right.
onesies, as Jeff, you alluded to with the Kansas City Chiefs, I believe.
Right.
um,
It it
that's,
ki it makes sense, right? Like, individuality, it is such an important part of your choices as you present yourself to the world. Certainly what you're wearing on your body and what you're bringing with you in terms of, when you're showing up at school with your lunchbox or your backpack, things of that nature. They're all choices that mean something to the individual. You're making a statement about yourself and you're connecting on a deeper level with the brands that you identify with and love and cherish and want to show the world, like, hey, where are my people at? If you wear it on your shirt, your people can recognize you right away, and it helps to foster that sense of that tribe and community within.
I think I know where you're going with this, Jeff, and that is how we represent in ourselves in the physical world, right, is completely translatable to how we represent ourselves in the digital or the virtual world, right?
You really get me.
And you know what? I was picking up what you were putting down, and I can see why licensing will become important, perhaps as important as it is to kids in peril in Web3, right? In NFTs, in the metaverse, and how we digitally flex who we are, what we stand for, what we represent. And that was part of my reasoning behind asking how long did it take us to get there, and when did nostalgia come into play, because obviously nostalgia is a big plays a big factor into a lot of the NFT collections and projects that have been cropping up recently, the branded ones specifically.
right, right. Well, Web3 is definitely hugely important part of the future in licensing for children. Now, we have to understand that children have an affinity for these characters, for these licenses. They almost feel as though they're real. And taking it now to the next dimension, so to speak, and it really is like the next dimension when you're talking about Web3 and artificial intelligence and teaching kids about NFTs and cryptocurrency and blockchains. I think that it is a dual learning experience for the family. It is not just about the children, it's about the parents as well. And everyone hears about it in the news every day. And it's something that will play an important role for licensing because licensing is such a big percentage of what the kids want and what the kids wear. And now it's going to transcend to Web3. So it's an honor for me to be part of the Toekenz experience because a lot of people feel that it's scary, not only parents of children, but brand owners and licensors, because you're always afraid of what you don't know. And what I can't say I was most impressed with this, with the tokens concept, because what I was most impressed with is number one, concern and and what needs to be done is making it a safe environment for children. Um, the second part of it is the fact that this is an experience that is a family experience. The parents need to be part of it in order to make it that safe environment for children. And the children can then continue in the Web3 environment to have fun with the characters that they love. And they'll be safe. It's not as though they're playing around with something that that adult doesn't even understand, because this is making it very clear for them. But I've thought from the very beginning that this is going to be as much of a learning experience for the parents, enabling them to understand this world that right now to them is a mystery. And as we launch, I believe that brand owners are going to now understand that this is truly a safe environment, the best way to introduce the children to NFTs, play to earn, learn to collect. Um, it's educational. It's wonderful. A great way to introduce them.
That's right. Thank you for all of that. We totally agree. Safety is paramount and most important thing, and education too. Like that's why we're here. That's one of the reasons why we're doing the podcast, right? To make sure we're keeping everybody informed and up to speed, and learn. Educate people along the way as we learn new things as this whole industry develops. And you mentioned something in there about the brands, the licensors. You have so much experience working with huge brands, very well known brands for many years, as you said. Now, I'm really curious in working with them, what is top of mind for them, for the brands, when they're working with a third party like Toekenz, for instance, on a licensing agreement? What are the criteria that they're looking for in a partner to ensure that their brand is going to be well represented and that this is going to be a good beneficial partnership?
Well, I think the biggest concern that they have is that their IP is protected, that what it is that we're doing with the IP will not be go out, because again, I don't think there's a full understanding of Web3 and the metaverse. There is a concern that their content and their IP will like go into the universe and be like open ended for anyone. It's us educating the brand owners and having them understand that all of the guardrails are put into place, that their IP is protected, that the child is protected. And I think that is the main concern. The, their second concern, and I cannot rate which is more important than the other, but their second concern obviously is the safety for the children. The brand owners the studios have been around for Disney and Warner Brothers are celebrating their 100th anniversary in 2023. Um, so their main focus has been for children and making sure that they're providing children with safe content, always safety for children. So they want to make sure again and have that assurance that the child will be safe, that there's not going to be an outsider that's going to be able to get on Toekenz and speak to their children. But Iris, I don't know if you want to say anything about, some of the protection, the guardrails you have, so that no one, it's very private, they're protected.
Right, right. Yeah, I think that this is one of the areas where we are not only aligned or like in lockstep with our brand partners, that that the safety of the families and of the kids is paramount, but also that we need to make sure that the kids and the IP is protected, right? And so whether or not there's an understanding of Web3 or the underlying blockchain technology or what exactly is the utility and benefit of an NFT, that's if it's that's something that we can help educate our brand partners and our obviously our families about, but to know that the safety is top of mind and the priority, to know that we've built in the parental controls, that we're COPA, KRU, GDPR, all of those regulatory bodies that ensure kids' safety and privacy, right? We're on the right side of that. And so that's where I feel like there's total alignment with the brand partnerships because we understand how important that is.
Yes, yes. But it has taken us a little while to get that message across to the brand owners, because
Right.
they see a lot of NFT collections, different promotions happening in adult. And when they hear NFT for kids and tokens, they really need a thorough explanation on how different that is than the promotions that they see going on for adult,
Mm-hmm.
because they're
Yeah, I
really
can see that.
they're one-off collections.
Right. And what we're doing is so different, right? So many of the initial NFT projects and platforms out there have because they're decentralized, there's a certain level of anonymity. Although as far as I know, some of them I think all of the major projects out there, the creators and the founders have been doxxed, meaning they've been outed. Their information is no longer anonymous, right? We know who the creators of the Bored Ape Yacht Club are now. Like they've all come out. And I think that there's a certain level of insecurity that comes with this idea of decentralization and anonymization, right? There's a lot of incredible benefits to that. And Web3, we have a somewhat of a Web 2.5 approach where we are operating on these decentralized technologies, but in a centralized way, right? Because we need to ensure the safety of the users as well as the IP and the brand partners. So we are fully, I've taken a cue out of Naval Ravikant's playbook to say, we're putting our name on it, right? Anything we do, we put our name on it. Everyone knows who's behind it, and hopefully to the best of our ability, they understand our intentions for what we do.
Did you just come up with that Web 2.5? Did you hear that somewhere? Or is that like an Iris original right there? Did I just witness something?
I would love to say, I would love to mint that, but I think 2.5 and like this physical digital experience are like the lesser used new terminologies.
Yeah, you said digital flex earlier too, and I like that one also. Your digital flex. Got to get your
Yeah,
digital flex on.
that's a good one.
So, Susan, what do you do to ensure a huge brand that they're in good hands with you as a licensed partner?
In my apparel world,
Yeah.
you're asking? Okay. Most of the relationships that I have are very long-term relationships right now. But
So you've
what?
built up some trust, I'm assuming, but
Yeah.
like you've got the clout. Susan's got clout these days, but like what would an average somebody trying to assure a big brand that they're in good hands with you as a licensed partner? Like what are the things you need to come to the table with?
I think one of the most important things is to stay true to what you promise. Um, Make sure that everything lines up exactly the way you want it to be, the way you told them it would be. Your brand partners should be just that, partners. There should be open communication all the time. And I think that over the course of time, really, time is what does it. You just have to take the time to continue on with the relationship and prove to them that you're a worthy partner, you're true to your word. And, I that's really the way most of my relationships started, because it all started by word of mouth. It's not like I was out there advertising, I want this brand, I want this brand, I want this. Once you're a solid, good partner, people know about it and they trust you. And then I say that word again, time. Over time, I have not changed. The way we conduct business has not changed. We are very true to our word. We're very ethical, and that's so important um, to prove and show the licensor partners.
I wonder if the Web3 like dog year analogy extends into these licensing relationships, right? Because people always talk about how we're so early and this is just, day one of week one of month one of year one of what this new technology offers. And so, we always joke when we're signing deals or, creating new partnerships, like to talk about a year-long partnership or a year-long, that's like we're talking like decades in the Web3 world. Like, can we accelerate the brand relationships if we're dealing with Web3, or do you think that it's going to take kind of the same amount of time to really establish the rapport and the trust for brands to get a little bit more adventurous in this new space?
Mhm. I think once brands are launched, with the launch, I think it's going to show other brands that they should believe in it, that it's time. See, the brand owners, they all have their own strategies. Some of them like to get in at the beginning of something, and others are like, no, I never want to be first. So we have to respect the brand owners that don't ever want to be first. But my approach is always keep them informed so that when they see that it's time to step over that line and it's not too soon, that they will be part of Toekenz. But again, we have um, brand partners that have experienced NFTs in the adult world, believe in it, understand it better than others, and they've welcomed us with open arms. And then you have the new brand owners that are very tech savvy, understand it more, and they're also very open to this. I think it's more the traditional brand owners that have that more let other people try it first. But I think that the relationships and the strength of the relationships can develop faster with Toekenz and the Web3 experience because it is just that. It is, as you said, it's a faster moving experience. And I think that it's going to be ever changing and ever advancing as we go along, which is going to keep the connection between Toekenz and the brand owners even more constant.
My big takeaway is that you are essentially just reminding us that these brand owners, these IP creators, they're just people, right? They're people like our parents, like our families that will be dipping their toe into Web3 via the Tokens experience or other experiences, right? There's the early adopters, there's the tech savvy who are going to tip in, next. And then there's those who like to sit back and wait and maybe they're waiting for just the right time to enter this space, which we think, I don't know if I could speak for all three of us, is kind of an inevitability, right? This is happening. So it's just kind of it's a matter of when, not not if.
Right.
Yeah,
Correct.
totally. So let's unpack that a little bit. What would you say is the benefit to a brand to license their IP to like a clothing line, for instance? Like, what does a brand stand to gain by doing that?
Well, number one, it's a financial adventure. Number two, it is adding awareness of their IP to the general public. So if a child has, they've always had the toys before it translated to the apparel world. So they can go out and they could see it now on multiple platforms, see the content multiple. I mean, up until recently, we didn't have YouTube and TikTok, and there's so many YouTube channels now. There, the kids can watch content 24/7 anywhere they are. It was never like that before. So the kids can watch the content, they can purchase the toys, but now toys have become like a whole different area. And I am not an expert in toys whatsoever, but the toys now are so much more about digital toys. So when you think about it, they're playing the digital games, which relate to the digital platforms, to Web3, to NFTs, and the experience that they can have with that. So it is taking these steps from, when you think about it, the hardline toys to the games to Web3. That's the way I see it.
So
But
an evolution. So
yeah,
would you say that the benefits that a brand or IP owner gets from licensing their IP to, say, let's say a clothing brand, you said it's a financial adventure. They're getting added brand awareness because us people are walking around with like living billboards on their chests or on their lunchbox. So added brand awareness. Also, the person that's purchasing the item gets that another touch point with the brand that they love, self identity, putting that out in the world, finding their community. Would you say that those things are also translatable into licensing that IP into the digital world?
I do, for the reason that it involves the family. So you were talking about, the purchase, the person who's buying it. Yes. I think what it all comes down to is the family. And I think that ever since we experienced this pandemic, the family unit has become stronger than ever. And we are now, I mean, I'll give you an example of it. Something that is a very wanted program at retail are family collections. So that for the first time ever, I need to speak to the brand owners about, okay, I don't have rights for adult, but this particular retailer wants to do a family swim program. So I need to be able to use um, Blues Clues. It's a retro property. The kids relate to it now. And I need to develop swim from kids to adult. So again, a family experience, the connection there. And if I could, direct that back to Tokens, and one of the highlights of Tokens as well is that it is a family experience. The parents involved, the child is involved.
Lo- First of all, love Blues Clues. But second, this is so relevant to me because I'm thinking, yeah, probably one out of every five holiday cards I received last year had families in matching outfits, probably mostly PJs, right? But like this is a thing, and the idea that this has also come out of the pandemic and us just being quarantined together is also really fascinating. But I see indications of this everywhere, and I mean I love to dress my girls in the same things, but there's I've seen more opportunities for me to get in on that. And so this is probably just another evolution in the licensing area. I think it's there's so many different places I want to go with this, but you also mentioned you mentioned Pooh, right? Winnie the Pooh and how revolutionary that was for kids licensing. And then Jeff was talking about us being walking billboards with what we like. When did that become a thing? Like, I remember having my first Nike shirt, my first Boingo. Do you remember that brand, Boingo?
Yes, I do.
Thank you, Susan. Jeff's like, what? I had my first branded apparel. It said Boingo, Boingo, Boingo. And I thought it was the coolest thing because my friends at school loved Boingo. And I was like, I got a Boingo shirt. And so I remember this like becoming a real thing. And I don't know if that was just for me or if that was just in the licensing industry as a whole. Maybe like early 90s, would you say? Or like, when did branded apparel, like wearing a brand on your chest, become a
Yeah,
thing?
I do. I was thinking 1990.
Yeah.
That was the year that came to my mind when all of a sudden that became so popular, and it wasn't long after that that the licensed um, grew even more. The license, the character licenses, and then once the character license started to increase, then the studios could see that, oh, we need to develop a movie, we need to develop a TV show, we need to, do get content out there. And that's what started that the whole movie craze. I mean, when do you remember these movies? Like so many movie releases. Granted, the pandemic shut that down for a while, but I keep a movie landscape of 20 to 35 movies that relate to kids that come out every year. And that's on the big screen. That's not saying the, direct to video and what they could see on Disney Plus now. So there's just so much content.
So, along that same thread, Iris, when do you think will be that tipping points for NFT in terms of like when is it table stakes for every brand to have an NFT strategy? Because if you ignore it to your peril. Like when is that
Mhm.
date?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think it's if it's not now, it's really soon, right? Because there are already brands and licensors who are active in the space, and we're already seeing digital native IP becoming franchise, right? Going to television, going to theatrical, getting signed by CAA, getting signed by major Hollywood agencies, right? These digital native IP brands are becoming traditional brands, and it's kind of a race between, do those become traditional before the traditional brands become, digital, or, progressive, become virtual, right? It's this interesting kind of mix of both of them going both ways. And that's why I've also been thinking a lot about our branding mix, right? Our licensor mix. It's about, does the digital native brands, they want to be right alongside the traditional brands because it brings all of that kind of legitimacy and recognizability in the industry, whereas the more traditional brands find it to be very beneficial to be right next to the digital native brands that are hyper relevant to kids, that are all over the places where they consume content, the YouTube kid platforms, on TikTok, etc. Right. So I think thinking about that mix is really important because brands are positioning themselves kind of against each other, not against each other, but how they mix with each other, I think is important too, and how it's presented. But I think it's now, right? The whether they're moving their legacy brands to the Web3 environment, or whether they're launching new IP in this virtual environment, I think that both of those companies and brands need to be doing both of those things, and they need to be doing them now.
Hmm. I would agree that it's now that they need to get on board. If I were to give my best guesstimate, I would think a year from now, we're going to be going full force, that we're going to have a lot of the uncertainty behind us. A lot will be proven by then. And I think it's going to be a different world. I don't think it's going to take that 5 years, as we talked about earlier. I do think a year from now, um, everyone is going to want to be involved. Let's see. Let's see if my
Time,
crystal ball is working.
yeah, as it always does, time will tell.
Time will
Yes.
tell. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, and it's moving so quickly, right? So every day, new projects are being announced, new platforms are being announced. Money is flooding into the investors' funds, right, to invest in Web3. I think they call it, what is it, dry powder, that there's just ready to be deployed and put into these companies that are bringing these new technologies to the fore. So, yeah, I mean, and we want to be there, right? Obviously, not only as a company but as just individuals, right? Seeing this as being the
Hmm.
next thing.
Yeah. But I do think that all of the thoughtfulness that has gone into tokens and the development of tokens, that will all pay off um, when it is launched to the public. I think everyone will then see exactly what we've been talking to them about.
I love it. I think that we have a new title for Susan: Chief Tokens Evangelist.
It's fine. I accept.
She accepts. Thank you. We'll get some
Um,
business cards made up and shipped out to you, Susan, tomorrow. Tomorrow.
okay. No, I have been so excited about this since meeting Iris and learning about this. And I just think that we're all ready for something new and something that we have confidence in and something that's going to make the children happy. And that is, that's what we want to see. We want to
Amen.
see happy children.
Yeah. Man, you know what? It really punched me in the face when you said that the pandemic made the family closer than it's been in a long time. I hadn't really thought about it, but man, has that been true personally for me? I would just going back and thinking like I'm sitting in my office in my home right now. 2 years ago or 2.5 years ago, I guess whenever all this started, I was gone for so much of the day. And with my oldest and my second oldest, I would just see them, sporadically, mornings and nights. Maybe I get to be a part of the bedtime routine. But since then, I've been here. I've been here for everything, and it's certainly a lot more stressful. It's certainly a lot more stressful for me personally. But oh my gosh, it has been so rewarding. And just like thinking back on that now, thank you for giving me like the cue to reflect on. Yes, my nuclear family here is so much closer since we've all been forced to be together in this time. So yeah, it's really nice to see that silver lining, thinking back on what has been an awful thing for so many, has also had its benefits, and I'm grateful for that.
Yes. You probably find yourself playing games with them now, doing
All the time.
watching content that you never watched before.
So true. But in addition to that, I find myself when I'm getting stressed at work, I now take a moment to go and like leave it behind and take 15, 20 minutes to go do something with my kids. And it's so rejuvenating and so fulfilling. And it breaks the day up in a way that, I never really had that opportunity before. And I'm just very grateful for it now.
Yes,
Oh, that's
that's
really
great.
sweet. It's and so
Yes.
true. I mean, we are from our family unit, the nuclear family unit, to people were having doing the pods thing where they would have their pod, right? Their safe circle where they
Hmm.
could still
Yeah.
interact. When COVID was kind of at its height, and the extra time that we've been able to put into those people who are closest to us. It's really, yeah, it's
Right.
really, really, really special.
Yeah.
I had the same experience as you, Jeff, right? Long work hours,
Hmm.
you know, intense commutes, just taking, 3 hours out of my day, like to get from point A to B. And that's just not the case anymore, right? And to be able to do that, or to be able to have this time at home when our littles are little, right? And to be able to have that extra time, the extra 15 minutes to go engage with them. I imagine your boys are probably playing games. You can sit down and play with them, or, take a few moments to engage with that. I mean, I think it's really wonderful. And I've also taken so what Susan shared with you punched you in the face or hit you in the gut or whatever it was you said. But Susan's also inspired me immensely, not only as a professional, right, and as a mentor in terms of licensing. But Susan, I hope you don't mind me sharing, talks to her children every day. Every day.
I do.
And it strikes me as like the sweetest thing because, Susan's children are grown and they're far away. And it's just, it was very inspiring to me. And it says so much to me about your character.
Thank you. Yes, my children are 32 and 35. I now have grandchildren, uh, but the it's so heartwarming to me that I speak to my son and my daughter every day, just to know that they're okay, the family's okay. So even though our family unit is miles away, hundreds and thousands of miles away, we don't feel like that. We feel we're very close. So the family unit continues, and I hope that you both have the same experience when your kids are older.
Me too. I'm gonna go call my mother.
And I call my mother every day. So the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
On that super sweet note, Jeff, any other questions for Susan? Susan, anything that you didn't get a chance to share? Just want to make sure we get final words before we close out this episode of the Toekenz Podcast.
No, I'm very excited about the Toekenz app, and I am waiting for the launch, so that everyone can see how exciting it is and how all brand owners should be part of it.
Love it. Couldn't have said it better. Thank you so much, Susan, for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, Susan, it's so great to meet you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we hope that you, our listeners, enjoyed this episode of the Toekenz Podcast. Again, my name is Ichishita. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Toekenz. I'm here with Jeff Allen and Susan Peia. And this ended up being a very heartwarming episode. I'm feeling
This is a heartwarming podcast, really. I get all the feels every time.
And we hope that you felt it too. If you enjoyed our podcast, please subscribe to it. Please follow us on social media. And please feel free to check out our website at toekenz.com or basically wherever you get your podcasts. We hope that you find ours there. So thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.